you, Mr. Gupta. I'm glad your program got postponed, and I hope in our future deliberations a similar thing prevails, and we look forward to your continued participation. You'll agree with me that here was a very candid and a very forthright viewpoint which will set us thinking, and we'll move ahead with it. Following this is yet another important speaker, Mr. A.K. Chopra, Financial Advisor, Defense Services. You'll agree with me that he sits on a hot seat, controls the purse string, so to say, and can give us exactly what is happening with regard to our procurement procedures in terms of the financial services. He has a vast experience of dealing with defense services. He has operated at various levels, and we are looking forward to certain amount of deliberate inputs from him so that we can move ahead with our sessions. Mr. Chopra.
Share some of my opinions. At the outset, I must say the opinions which I am going to express here are my personal, and they are not the official views of MOD or even my finance view. I may make some comments which I am making it in a general context and not in relation to any specific service or about any particular services. With these disclaimers, I think from a bit of esoteric, I'll bring down the entire thing to mundane. In terms of defense procurement structures, organizations, and as a practitioner of that, what my opinion about various things is. Though I know most of the audience here is very well versed in all the procurement, defense procurement issues, but still, for those of you who are not really familiar, I have tried to first of all put across that the way our defense procurement system is structured, it tries to find a fine equilibrium between three stated objectives which are competing really with each other. First, the expeditious fulfillment of the requirement of the services. The second is development of Indian industry. And the third one is conforming to higher standards of transparency, probity, and public accountability. Now, different stakeholders in this defense procurement cycle have conflicting interests. Naturally, the services want the entire thing to be done yesterday. From the defense industry, from the Indian industry side, the emphasis is on giving them a greater share, a greater role in the whole thing. And from a host of other agencies, including watchdog agencies, probity, transparency, they take the cake. So it is a fine balance which has to be struck, where the equilibrium keeps on shifting is as a matter of the decision where do we really strike the balance. But this is something which has been food for thought. Where should this balance be really? Are we being too cautious? Now a few words about the evolution of the defense procurement system and procedures. Pre-Kargil, if you look at, we didn't have any dedicated defense procurement structures. For example, the Joint Secretary of Navy or a Joint Secretary of Air Force will be dealing with all the procurements, all the maintenance activities, all the personnel matters, the works, and you name it. This was the kind of structure which we had. In terms of procedures, well, even though right from independence we had been having our some sort of procurements which were taking place, but we didn't have any formalized defense procurement procedure. The first defense procurement procedure, and if I recall it correctly, it was in pursuance of parliamentary committee's recommendations, and it was formulated in 1992. This unfortunately remained a classified document and therefore accessible only to the people in service headquarters or in the MOD. Not really, I mean, once the rules of the game, I mean, it was supposed to be laying down the rules of the game, but if the rules of the game were not really known to all the players, well, it really had no meaning. But the real change took place post-Kagame, when we had a group of ministers which went into the question of reforming the entire defense national security system, and they had come up with a set of recommendations, and when implemented, this led in 2001 to creation of dedicated acquisition and acquisition structures. Once these structures were put in place, they had a look at comprehensive review of the 1992 procurement procedures, and the first procurement procedure came about in December 2002, and thereafter, well, it has undergone numerous revisions. It has been expanded. It covers now variety of things like buy and make, in and make, and a separate shipbuilding procedure. I mean, things have expanded substantially into that. But even now, to say that it's perfect, I mean, it will be really foolhardy. It's just still, I would say, evolving. And I mean, the evolution which has taken place now also has been as a result of the feedback or the experience of the people who are involved in the acquisition process, and also the feedback from the industry, both indigenous as well as foreign. And therefore, as it is evolving, this is where the feedback from the industry, feedback from think tanks, and that will be pretty useful. And I think one of the revisions is now almost becoming useful. I mean, even though now there are a variety of aspects of defense procurement procedure, I mean, now we have the integrity pacts and the offset provisions and the technical trials, oversights, and so on. I'll not really be going into the details of that, which I'm sure during the course of the day you will have occasion to touch upon. I'll touch upon a few aspects. When we say we change the defense procurement structures, did it make really any difference? In my opinion, because I've had experience of working in MOD, in the pre-revamped, pre-change structures, that is because I joined the ministry first in 88 to 93, and then I joined in 2000. And it was during my stay there in 2000 to 2005 when all the changes and the structures and procedures were taking place. One major change which I find is the introduction of collegiate decision-making process. For those of you who are not too familiar, let me put across how did change matters. Earlier, say there was a proposal, you have a proposal for, say, procurement of X items that we want this item to be purchased in this particular manner through import or with TOT or through indigenous sources, which one. So you have those decisions about necessity, numbers, and the method of procurement to be taken. The case would go from service headquarters to MOD. MOD raises some objections back to service headquarters till you satisfy that. It comes to MOD finance, MOD has issues there, we raise the observations, goes through MOD back to service headquarters, comes back again. Then it's a question of import versus indigenous, DRDO and defense production coming, all their queries have to be settled sequentially, one after the other, you clear one by one. These things could take at times years. Now, you circulate your statement of case and brief across things, the date is fixed, everybody comes across, whatever points you have, discuss it, resolve it, take the decision. That's the kind of difference which it has made. Having said that, there are still issues where individual agencies have to act on their own. I'm talking in terms of expeditious procurement and what can be done or not done about it. First thing is that we have today, you would be aware, we have the long-term integrated perspective plan, we have the 5-year services capital acquisition plan, we have the annual acquisition plans. Even if some proposals figuring into those, which have been approved by the appropriate authorities, even defense acquisition proposal, when you actually have to start a procurement case, when you start it, whether you are ready to start it, that decision is still with the service headquarters. You have cases where the proposals have been approved, have been on the acquisition plans for years, well, the statement of case is not initiated. Next issue is that even if you have initiated the case, everything has been cleared, thereafter you have to take the next action of issuing the RFP. Before that, you have to have the QRs formulated. You have had a host of cases. I am aware of a number of cases where years together, proposals have not been initiated, or QRs have not been formulated, or the RFPs have not been initiated. We talk of expeditious procurement, but we have bottlenecks of this type also, totally at the service headquarters. Thereafter, of course, you have a host of actions which necessarily follow in sequence, particularly in the context of when things have to be got up at the final stage for appropriate approvals, the MOD Finance or Finance Ministry where it's required, or the Cabinet where it is required. There things take of course now one of the changes which has also come about is the substantial delegation of power, so that for a very large number of cases you don't have to approach the Cabinet or even Finance Ministry. Some of the factors which, in my opinion, impact expeditious finalization are, first of all, the QRs and the vendor list which is first required. You commit a mistake in that and repent at leisure. The proposal may come to naught after 3 years. You formulate wrong QRs, ambiguous QRs, or too stringent, or have defective QRs, or the vendor list, you have not really taken good care of it. It may result in little response or a single vendor situation, and 2 years down the road you will come back to, sorry, the case cannot be processed. This is one of the major problems which I have come across, where I find a good number of cases just reach dead end after 2-3 years of efforts. The other issue is, of course, the estimation of costs. Right from the time when the initial proposed statement of case has been laid out, there has to be an indication of what is the proposal going to cost. Say it's estimated at, say, 100 crores. You invite the tenders, and before the tenders are open, the contract negotiating committee arrives at a benchmark. Then you have situations where the benchmark happens to be 200 crores. And when you open the quote, you find perhaps the quote is 400 crores. You negotiate it, bring it down to 350 crores. Now, anybody who is approving that proposal subsequently says it was supposed to estimate 200 crores. Even you benchmarked it at 200 crores. And it's coming to 350 or 400 crores. But what's wrong? And people are really wary of deciding about that. It could lead to delays, all kinds of questions. You know, what went wrong? Did you change the scope? Did you change technology? How did you estimate, address it? And reverse is also difficult. You will have situations estimated 200 crores, the benchmark 100 crores, and quoted price 75 crores. I mean, either way, it creates a host of questions, and the case really never gets there. how to go about addressing it, perhaps that's one of those issues. Now, just a point about Indian industry representatives. In the context of, revision of DPP, I mean, we hear lots of comments being made of general nature about system being too complex, the requirements of meeting for encouraging defense industry not being adequate. Many a time at such comments and suggestions are of diverse nature from different industry associations, and they lack specifics most of the time. Now that we have the DPP in public domain, I would suggest it will be better if you take the DPP, a specific clause or a specific para. This is what we would like to be changed. To meet this is the requirements in an objective and specific manner. Perhaps that way your concerns may be addressed better rather than just writing your requirements or generally that this is how it should be, etc. Perhaps, this is a suggestion, deliberate on it, how to go about doing it. But I thought perhaps this would be a much better thing so that if the formulation which you want, then the entire thing can be examined more specifically or in a more focused manner. This, I think, I'll conclude my talk. Thanks for patient hearing.
A busy schedule and another commitment, and I think you'll agree with me that he's been able to put across certain basic fundamentals which are very important and which become roadblocks in our process and our endeavor. With this, we come to the end of the first part of our deliberations today. Before we proceed to have a tea break, I'll just flash the program for the day. We'll start the next session on evaluating defense procurement procedure at 11 o'clock. It will be chaired by Mr. Vinod Dhal, the former Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs, and former Chairman, Competition Commission. There are 3 presentations, and I'm told there may be one more. A corporate representative has paradoxed into this and would make a presentation that makes it 4. And thereafter there will be a special address by Mr. Manish Tiwari, who is a member of the Parliamentary Standing Committee on Defence. This would be the luncheon address. And thereafter, post-lunch session, we have defence procurement, the core concerns, with Mr. Vinod Mishra, the former Secretary, Department of Defence Finance, chairing it. And we'll have 3 presentations thereafter, followed by a valedictory address by yet another member of the Standing Committee of Defence. And then we will have a vote of thanks by Mr. Baranwal and a cup of tea disperse. That is all as far as this first session is concerned. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I request you to give a hand to the speakers for their executive.
Everybody in that. Number 2, have a project.
Frankly speaking, Taj Mahal is better. Centuries of glory, yes.